Hi there, and welcome to Help Solve the Case. Today, I want to talk a bit about the Lindsay Clancy case that is underway, and we are getting ready to get into opening statements and the full breadth and depth of the trial. If you don't know me, my name's Christine Burke. I'm a retired police detective and sergeant, law enforcement expert, and forensic genetic genealogist. And I really appreciate you guys being here because your presence and your watch time on this channel helps me donate my services through my Enduring Service Program to underfunded law enforcement agencies and to pay it forward for those officers who have given their lives in service to others, to identify unknown human remains, in closed cases, finding suspects. Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about, before the case opens, about the interesting facets of this case. It's a very sad and tragic case, it seems, all the way around. And I was listening to some experts opining in the news about what is being presented, what the reason, shall we say, for what happened to Miss Clancy and her children. And again, here in this channel, we don't talk about one side versus the other, although we do talk about the dynamics of the chess game and the Netflix show, as I refer to it. We do talk about the constitutional issues and the court process and how it applies in daily life for us who believe in the prosecution and those of us who believe in the defense, and us as citizens that we believe in our whole system of justice, the criminal justice system, and how we can make it better, the updates, what's going on, the precedents in the cases. And we need to know, God forbid, if we found ourselves or someone in our family found ourselves in this position, either as a victim or a suspect, a defendant. All right. We all want to get our rights available under the Constitution. So that's what we're talking about. But I think it's really interesting when we look at these cases because you can apply them to real life. For instance, I was reading on the Pamela Smart case yesterday, and I was talking about the issue with the transcripts and what they're alleging are the garbled audio, what they are alleging is the garbled audio and the transcripts that are inaccurate. And that kind of made me freak out because we have that application in almost every court case that we have going on, whether it's police audio, whether it's victim witness statements. When things are recorded, it can be very hard to understand. And as a defense expert that comes in as a law enforcement expert, either on the prosecution side or on the defense side, it's my job to interpret that. It's my job to interpret the police language, what they're saying and why, and what happened and why. So very important that these cases apply to real life. Let's fast forward to this Lindsay Clancy case. I was listening this morning to this interview with this doctor, this psychiatrist, psychologist. I don't want to get that wrong, but I didn't catch which one it was. It would be nice if they both didn't start with P's, wouldn't it? One can prescribe and one cannot. And this gentleman, he had previously worked for the FDA, and now he operates a clinic helping people step down from this medication. And he was being interviewed talking about I think it was the Paul Morris show, talking about the fact of what these medicines could do. And the fact that there's an allegation that Mrs. Clancy was on 8 or 9 medications at one time. And I thought that was very interesting. I'm not a medical professional, but I have seen interactions with medicines like this, obviously, in my police work, crazy, crazy stuff with not only narcotics and illegal substances that are on the schedules, but also issues related to prescriptions, over medication, even sleep aids, causing accidents, all kinds of different things, all kinds of reactions. Now, we're used to hearing about alcohol-related reactions or the lack of reactions when somebody is intoxicated, right? If you learn about that, that your reaction time is dulled. And we're kind of used to that, but we're not really used to all the effects of these other types of medication, though we are seeing cases of driving under the influence. Now, this would be, excuse me, considered criminality, maybe under the influence. And the doctor was talking about how all these drugs interact inappropriately, and that some people have bad reactions to these drugs. And I've seen it. Also, I know from the natural world that you can, taking certain supplements, really alter your own brain chemistry, your mood with these herbs that react or activate the systems within your body to make you happy, that make you sad, all right? Serotonin, dopamine, those type of things, that you can do it that way. I also took a class way back in the day, in the dinosaur days, as I like to say, when I was getting my undergraduate degree in criminal justice, and I have a psychology minor, and it was talking about the biobasis of behavior and how the signaling in your body can get turned on or turned off based on the I'm using the wrong word, chemicals, go in and go out, the elements that go in and go out. And we talked about Prozac. We talked about some of these things, these SSRIs and SSNIs, however that SRNI, however they go, SNRI, all kinds of acronyms, and the different ways that they work within your system. And it was very, very interesting. If you have not looked at this and you like stuff like that, I would highly suggest that you look at how these mechanisms really work and how it is very easy to manipulate it, how you're going to feel. It's kind of crazy scary. And I mean, not crazy because we're talking about this, but it's very scary. I also learned when I took that class that it's like when I talk about trying to put a square peg in a round hole, it doesn't fit in. And in this class, it was very interesting because they were talking about, we learned how in these pharmaceuticals, when they're made, they make these structures, right? The mechanical structures of the atoms or whatever it is. I'm going to mess this all up, but you've seen the diagrams, right? With the molecular structure of these things. And that the problems, these side effects occurred. This is when I learned this very early about side effects. And that's why I'm not so big of a medication person, because that class scared me. And so when we have these molecular structures, what happens is when they try to make the synthetic version of it, sometimes there's extra pieces. And those extra pieces, the extra molecular structure, we'll just say, can sometimes cause reactions in other molecular structures within the body. I'll give you an example. My mom was a victim of fen-phen. It caused heart damage, all right? She had a lawsuit, the whole thing, whatever, because of the way that it was used, because of the way of the interaction, all right? That was scary. So very interesting in this case. And again, I'm not the biology major. I'm not making a determination. I'm just talking about what you guys come for here. I think you might come for my expertise and my input and my take on it, and I love hearing yours. But right now, we're not talking about just the court process. We're talking about something else that is very important to me because I've seen family members, for instance, my mom, when she was in the throes of dementia, they put her on Seroquel, which this doctor was saying was one of the big guns, I think he called it. And yes, I saw as they tried to medicate and manage my mom, and it did make a difference. I have other friends and associates that things can get really scary when they're not taking their medication or when there's a change in the medication. And believe it or not, these things, these chemicals can really affect us. All right. We're learning how, look at, if you have a gluten allergy, that can affect you. You can have leaky gut. I mean, all kinds of different things about the way our body works. And these things can affect us. Let me get off that soapbox here. Just very, very interesting. So this case is very interesting to me. Again, I don't watch all of these all day long because I'm working on cases, I'm doing different things, but I try to present them to you when I think that they have a good court angle that you would be interested in it, and it brings things that we probably need to pay attention to, right? What is going on? How could this possibly affect us? Now, this is going to be interesting because, as this doctor was saying, the culpability element, and for lack of a proper term, was she out of her mind? We've heard about postpartum depression. Was it that? Was she just depressed and didn't want to go on? I've seen a lot of women, a lot of people talk about that can be awful. I don't have biological children of my own, so I don't know what that's like. I do know how at different times in my life when I've lost people, how hard that can be. I can't imagine what that would feel like having a child, which should be the most exciting and wonderful time in your life, not enjoying it or feeling terrible or having these horrible thoughts that people go through this stuff. I cannot imagine. So this doctor was saying, what was it? Postpartum depression. And he apparently has all this experience with his drugs. And so he's saying, no, I don't see it rising to that level. But he began to talk about her history, her recent history with all of these different medications, and that she has a lawsuit against, I believe, the hospital that she was treated not so distantly from when all this happened. And dosage was increased or different things like this. And I've seen, as I mentioned, some friends, colleagues, there's strong warnings about coming off of this medication and the imbalances that it could create. So taking the class that I took and listening to this interview this morning about all the different medications, and they were changing dosage, and apparently she had all this bad reaction. And then they also mentioned that her husband is in her corner and he's standing by her, and that he has said, and again, I'm just going off this interview, that he has said that she wasn't like this, right? That this was not a pervasive type of thing. And so what do we really have here? What do we have to expect? Now, is there going to be diminished capacity used in this trial? That's what I've heard. And so it sounds to me that the state has the job of showing that despite whatever was going on chemically, mentally, that Lindsay had the ability to know right from wrong, the criminality of the acts, that despite the depression or the chemical imbalance or the thoughts or whatever they're going to label it as, that she had the knowledge and the ability to know that what she was doing was wrong, the criminality, as they call it. And I wanted to go here and I wanted to talk about this indictment here. Hmm. I wanted to talk about this indictment here because we need to see what the elements of the crime that they have to meet. And I know this was a long time ago, but the culpability and the criminality has to be there. I thought this would be a good basis to just take a look at this, and then we'll know a baseline of what they have to prove so that we can better evaluate what the prosecution is doing. Are they meeting their burden? So here is the indictment, right? And it says, at the Superior Court begun and holden at Brockton within and for the County of Plymouth on September 15, 2023. The jurors for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts on their oath present that Lindsay M. Clancy of Duxbury in the County of Plymouth on or about January 24th, 2023 at Duxbury in the County of Plymouth did assault and beat Cora Clancy, intend to murder her, and by such assault and beating did kill and murder the said Cora Clancy. There's the true bill. Okay, that's when the grand jury returns it. And that was on the 15th of September, 2023. So obviously some time had elapsed here. Now, here's another one. And it just talks about indictment. Let me go back up. Murder. General Laws, Chapter 265, Section 1. So we might have to take a look at that. All right, here's the next one. The same thing. They're going to say the same thing for Dawson Clancy and Callan Clancy. Assault and beat, did kill and murder. Now, we have another one here. In the County of Plymouth on or about January 24th, 2023, did strangle or suffocate Cora Clancy. So we have apparently alleged a beating and a strangulation or suffocation. And we've got the same for Dawson, and we've got the same for Callan. Now, I want to look this up. 265-15D. When you read the statute, you have to take the statute and then the section. It says 15D subsection within 265, section 15D, and then subsection B. When we look at these cases, we talk about the elements of the crime, they're only taking this subsection here. So we start up here and it says, for the purposes of this section, the following words shall have the following meanings unless the context clearly indicates otherwise. Quote, serious bodily injury, end quote. Bodily injury that results in a permanent disfigurement, loss, or impairment of a bodily function, limb, or organ, or creates a substantial risk of death. Quote, strangulation, end quote. The intentional interference of the normal breathing or circulation of blood by applying substantial pressure on the throat or neck of another. Suffocation, quote, suffocation, end quote. The intentional interference of the normal breathing or circulation of blood by blocking the nose or mouth of another. Now that's interesting because it's usually one or the other. And I don't know the facts of this case, but it sounds like the suffocation and or strangulation is part of the same section. Here's the subsection B. Whoever strangles or suffocates another person shall be punished by imprisonment in state prison for not more than 5 years, or in the house of correction for not more than 2.5 years, or by a fine of not more than 5,000, or by both such fine and imprisonment. I was looking at the years here. I'm like, that's a low term because it doesn't say here that it ends up in murder. So this is if for any amount of time you suffocate, you impair the breathing, the nose or the mouth, or strangle at any point for any amount of time right here. And that's what that is. And here's the definition: substantial pressure on the throat or neck of another, intentional interference in the normal breathing or circulation by blocking the nose or mouth of the other. Pretty wide open there. We have all the children for those. We're going to go to this 265 section 1. All right. Murder committed with deliberately premeditated malice aforethought or with extreme atrocity or cruelty, or in the commission or attempted commission of a crime punishable with death or imprisonment for life, is murder in the first degree. We've got 3 possibilities here. Very important to read these correctly, right? Deliberately premeditated malice aforethought. What does that conjure in your mind? It doesn't say 10 days, 10 minutes, 10 years. It just says premeditated malice, okay, aforethought. Malice. That sounds like a very mean word, right? Now here's the or. It could be the first part, the premeditated malice aforethought, or with extreme atrocity or cruelty in the commission or attempted commission of a crime punishable with death or imprisonment for life. So, the strangulation or the suffocation, that's not punishable by death or imprisonment for life, right? So do we have the extreme atrocity? I mean, that's, my mind's like, or cruelty. Oh, no, sorry, the atrocity. Oh, okay, let's see. Well, we could get that. Sorry, I think we have 4 here. Let me go back. So we've got the malice aforethought, or with extreme atrocity or cruelty. I think they might go with that. We got 4. Premeditated malice aforethought, extreme atrocity or cruelty, the commission or attempted commission of a crime punishable with death or imprisonment for life. That could be like, I don't know, I haven't read it, but I'm thinking like kidnapping or something like that, is murder in the first degree. We do have 3. Murder which does not appear to be in the first degree is murder in the second degree. And petty treason shall be prosecuted and punished as murder. The degree of murder shall be found by the jury. So I think we might have, or somebody could see the extreme atrocity. They really did not spell it out in this indictment. Did assault and beat, intent to murder him. So that's got to be the malice aforethought. That's what I don't know. We'll see in the opening statement. What they're saying, some of these experts are saying, is that the impairment from these drugs absolutely caused this. Now, is there enough in the defense records that the defense could show with experts or otherwise that she couldn't make any kind of determination? She was so out of her mind, whatever, by the drugs or the depression or whatever was going on. What is their angle going to be exactly as to what made her mind numb? And the state, the Commonwealth, in my understanding, is going to have to say, it don't matter what was going on. She knew right from wrong, and she intentionally did this. So we will see on Monday, as we get started with their opening statements, how they're going to lay it out, because, and we don't know if, I don't know how it ended with the jury selection if the defense is going to present their opening statement at the front or they're going to save it and wait till the end. But at least we're going to have the Commonwealth, the prosecution, lay out their story. It's like the trailer. When I talk about the Netflix shows, it's going to be the trailer for what they're going to present, who their cast of characters are going to be, and the angle that their show is taking, their presentation they're putting on their show for the judge and the jury to get them invested in the story that the Commonwealth, the prosecution, is saying. And we'll see. We'll talk about that. We'll see how that goes. I don't know if you found this interesting. It's a very sensitive topic on all kinds of levels, and we'll just have to wait and find out. I would love to know your thoughts. As always, comment. I try to answer all the comments whenever I can. I truly appreciate your support of the channel, the fact that I love talking about this stuff. You love listening, you love watching, and I truly believe that it has an impact on our lives in one way or another. And we definitely need to know what is going on in our criminal justice system. And at the same time, you all are helping me do more, solve more crimes, and help more people by getting these folks identified and working on these investigations. So I truly, truly thank you. And as always, I will see you on the next one.